Welcome to the Black Tower. I'm your host, your guide, your brother, Sorcerer Armanasul. Alright, so, been a lot of things going on. Finally got my computer here after 2 days of dealing with text. Oh, you gotta love that. Uh, Finally got it up and going now. I don't understand how you can get a brand new computer and have technical issues with in the same hour that you plug it up, that you have to call the people that you have the coverage with and stuff to be like, hey, I need your tech support to tell me what's going on with my system. But hey, you know what? Stuff happens. Uh, that might be accused of Mercury retrograde, which I highly doubt that. So wanted to have a little bit of a spot on convo with all my brothers and sisters out there. All right, so check it now. I have a few thoughts I'm going to go over this morning, which might be kind of rambling. So this probably going to end up being one of those coffee with a sorcerer moments or something. I don't know, because I'm still drinking coffee, still waking up. All right, so first off, all right, so my good brother Thos Phoenix over at Magicology, Mamadou Dingir, Priest of the Necro, you get the idea. So he made a video on Mars retrograde, which is perfect. It really is. Lately, I have a lot of violent dreams. Not where I'm being violent, but where others are showing violence towards me. Now, I don't. Dreams being more of like a message for the subconscious. So, more or less, put on your armor, sort of moment, where it's like, be prepared for it, because maybe I feel like I'm being attacked. Not necessarily magically, but just, emotionally, mentally from others and so forth and so on. So how do you deal with that sort of thing? Well, to be honest with you, yeah, just take it as it comes, man. Water off a duck's back and all that, let it slide off, to the best of your ability. But let us go into the God aspect of planets when they go retrograde, okay? So, retrograde, like Thos is explaining, you know, retrograde is always an internal thing. It's where the focus and the power is forced inward. It is where we're forced to look inside ourselves, which I don't understand forced, but I guess some of us don't, delve inside ourselves, so we don't keep up with the internal workings of ourselves, our own emotional, mental, spiritual states of being, so forth and so on very well. So when these planets go retrograde, they force you to take a look inside, and there's nothing wrong with that. That's always a good thing. Like me, myself, and I, the whole thing of Nergal, fucking love Aries energies. Uh, and the only Aries I ever knew, well, actually, I've known quite a few, but the only Aries I ever knew that actually purely exhibited that was my dad. My dad was, oh, wow, was he hard headed. He was like worse hard headed than I am. And I'm not going to get into a story about my father, although I will go into another subject concerning the dead here in a little bit, but for right now. But anyway, so my father had like this Aries energy, so he's always hard headed. It was his way and all this other stuff. But he was one of those just freaking force of natures, like you wouldn't believe. Like, he was around during the time that, everybody was running around with swords and sticks and stones and stuff. Hell, my dad would have had a club in one hand and just beating the crap out of somebody out on the battlefield. I mean, it's just the way he was. He's just a rough customer. But this is raising. It was his day and age and everything else. But I say all that to go into this one little detail about that whole thing. Is that Mars, that hands-on, that raw, just force and power. How when Nergal is inside and if you're working with Dingir as aspects or even archetypes of your own emotional mental states of being, let's look at Nergal for a minute. One of the earliest names that he was known by was Era, and not to be confused with Eros of the Greeks or anything like that, but ancient Akkadian, I believe. I'd have to do a little bit better research on what it did, but I remember that it was he was known as Era, and he reveled in battle. He reveled in struggle and fighting and just raw, just the the longer and more drawn out the fight, the better he liked it. And it reminded me of when I was coming up, because when I was younger, oh man, I'm so glad I calmed down. But when I was younger, the more, the better. I would literally take on 5 or 6 people at a time. I didn't care. I mean, but you got to understand, I was young, impressionable. I was in foster care, so I was used to being picked on, beat up, stuff like that. So you learn to stand up for yourself, and you learn to be tough. And this isn't a conversation of how badass I was or anything like that, because it wasn't nothing like that. I've had my ass handed to me, but that happens when you're a scrapper. But I always remembered that it was always rather interesting, is that force, that power dwelt inside, and I reveled in it. And even at 15, 16 years old, I didn't know what that was, what made me that way. I just thought I was mean, you know, testosterone, something like that. How the hell should I know what caused that? But as I become a practitioner and I got older, I went to realizing that, like in the instance of Nergal, there are some forces that abide within each of us to different measures. Okay, now not everybody's going to have the same equal amount of essences or forces of that are symbolic of these powers and things. They're going to be different. Some are going to be wiser, more mercurial. Some are going to be more physical, as in Taurus, Earth, even Aries. I mean, you know what I'm saying? And with that in mind, you know, like the dreams I have, like last night I had a dream where, oh my goodness, I am not a political activist. I'm nothing like that. But in my dream, I was dealing with people that, I was sitting there on a sidewalk, and they're coming up, and it's at nighttime, and they got the cameras focusing at me, and I'm like, got my hands like, I ain't got nothing on me, no guns, no nothing like that, because, when a group of people do that, it's like they're trying to start something with you, and why I was having to explain to them in my dream that I didn't have a weapon on me, I have no idea, but they were trying to pick fights, and I think that, like in the example of Mars retrograde, be careful when you're out there, when you're out and about, because, symbolic as that dream may have been, it may have been a message for me to watch who I interact with, because not everybody is a balanced individual. Not everybody, balances these forces inside them. They go around completely oblivious to everything. And then they start getting moody and all this other stuff. And it's because they're not like us. They don't, they don't work on the internal world. They don't keep a balance. So I say all this to just say, here's just an example of it, is when you go out and about and you run into people who seem to have short fuses, don't be surprised. It's not you. You didn't draw it to you or anything like that. This is just part of Mars retrograde. This is what happens. People become idiots. Violent idiots, but idiots nonetheless. That being said, let's go on to the next thing I want to talk about. All right, so I don't know why this came to my mind this morning when I was sitting there thinking about it, and I was like, there were a few things I wanted to go over. One of them is the care and maintaining of your altar of your ancestors, altar of the dead, whatever you want to call it. In the ancient days, of what they used to do was that they used to pour libations of fresh water, either to a statue at the graveside or whatever of their ancestors, so that they'd have fresh water. They'd offer bread, so that they'd have food, so that it wouldn't become what they called the hungry dead, where, vengeful spirits, you know. And in this day and age, like, for example, I have a picture of my father, and I'm going to have some other pictures of, like, grandparents, uncles, aunts, the whole 9 yards. Because I want to expand on my altar a bit, I don't want to just focus on one. It just happened to be a small picture got so messed up. But, I didn't have the luxury of being raised by my blood family. So, a lot of the pictures and stuff, I never got any. And so I have to rely on, like, cousins and stuff like that. That's neither here nor there. But the thing is that most of the time, it's sad to say, but a lot of people unless they're into remembering their ancestors, it isn't until you get to Halloween and, when the veil becomes the thinnest and the spirits of your dead rise and all this other stuff. And oh my goodness, it's important to keep a balanced outlook on your ancestry, on your spirits. I don't care if you don't have any pictures and you don't, a shot glass of alcohol, if that's the thing, if that's how you honor it. But me, myself, and I use just bread and fresh water. And when you're done with it, take it outside. After it's sat there for 12, 15, 24 hours, however long, you got your incense, your candle, your fresh water, bread, and you've offered it to the spirits of your ancestors that they may not thirst nor go hungry. Take it outside after a considerate amount of time to allow the spirits to come and go and partake of the offering that you gave them. Take it outside and offer the remnants of it to the earth. Allow the earth to drink in. Because if nothing else, man, ants, birds, something will eat the bread, water. Well, come on. The earth will drink water all day long. So, let us try to remember that even in our day-to-day life, even when it's not that special time of year when we get to dress up all scary like, which was an ancient tradition of scaring off the demons, if you believe in that sort of thing. But I almost passed over it. There was a main point behind it. Okay. In old Celtic mythos and certain Greek things and stuff, they were always talking about never eat or drink the food of the dead. Never don't eat or drink anything offered to you by the dead. Oh, well, this should come as common sense. Like if you put out water and bread or alcohol for the dead, don't eat or drink that. Go give it to the earth. Don't do that. And here's why you don't do that. The reason you don't do that is because you can actually anger the spirits, supposedly, But also another way to look at it is that you've offered it to the dead. So why are you considering yourself a dead spirit? You should be considering yourself a living spirit offering unto those who have passed. So it's kind of a respect thing. Not necessarily out of fear, but respect. All right, with that being said and done, let's get on to the crux of the biscuit, as my good buddy William Hill likes to say. Mr. Doc Hill 32. What's up, brother? All right, so recently, very recently, I ordered a book, Sebitti, by Michael W. Ford, Mesopotamian Magic and Demonology. Oh, what is so special about this book? Oh, wow. Okay, so many of you have been watching my channel, keeping up with it. Okay, so about 2 years ago, whatever, I went to, I was going to write a book. And I was going to, explain how I pieced together all this stuff. Oh. You ever had those moments where it's like somebody took something right out of your head and put it in pages? Well, Mike Debbie Ford did just that. I'd never seen or heard about this. I was talking to a brother Frater Nabo the other day. I love that guy to death. He's the bee's knees. He's the shiznizits. Guy is like a true elder of the magical community in general. He's just a wealth of information, knowledge, wisdom. And then, of course, he is who he is. But anyway, this book right here, it explains about rebuilding the Tower of Babylon. And I was sitting there like, what the hell? Because I've been working on this for years and years of, rebuilding the Tower of Babel. And the Black Tower itself was a concept inside my psyche concerning the building of the Tower of Babel to return man to the gods, to man becoming the gods, to remembering the gods and embodying the gods, and so forth and so on. And then Mr. Michael Day before comes along, puts out some BT, and I'm just sitting there like, oh, son of a bitch. But I'll tell you this right now, though. Dude, he kept it accurate, historically accurate. Names, words, so forth and so on. And something really cool I wanted to put out there is that the Book of 50 Names. Oh yeah, he did it all, man. He the Sebitti are the seven who doors cannot hold, bars do not hold. so forth and so on. Like out of the Maklu text, I believe it's called, but it explains these spirits. Well, the Sebitti are they're like the Maskamhul, the Rabishu, and all them. It's the evil spirits and stuff, and how to work with them. Because just because they're evil and stuff like this, like I've said before, you've got to remove the definitions. You've got to completely wipe them out of your head. You got to redo it. So like when I read the word demon, I think spirit. I just do. It says Dingir, it's a god. So forth and so on. And can you have spirits that want to become gods? Yes. Can you have spirits that are gods? Yes. Then it's a spirit god. I mean, get the idea? So this is how you got to beat your own mind to the punch. And because, face it, if they put in here, oh, this spirit does this and this spirit does that, would it really sell that many copies? Not really. Because everybody wants to hear the word demon to think that they're really summoning some evil spirit that's going to destroy their enemies. Any spirit can do that if you know how to direct them and ask them. Any of them, even the kind ones. And speaking of kind ones, and going back to the Book of 50 Names now, whether or not Simon did or did not actually write the Simon Necronomicon by it, Mr. Michael W. Ford, he did the 50 Names. Mersha Kushu. That's Mersha. Oh, yeah. And I'll never forget that when I was reading it and I saw it, I was like, it can't be. And so I went to chanting the name, and sure enough, the familiar spirit came, and it came faster, and it came stronger, more powerful. I was sitting there going, oh, holy crap, it's my boy. It's my boy. Mersha Kushu. Hoo-hoo. Or in this case, Mersha Kushu. So I would suggest to anybody, any of you who are into the Necronomicon, pick up Sebitti. I mean, he didn't just stick to the guns of the demons and stuff. I mean, he's got those really, really covered, and it'll give you a lot better idea about the Mashusu dragon and the Gadim, which are the spirits of the dead. And you see how I've made this whole video come around. See, that's what I'm talking about. You got to make it tie in. But pick it up. Go check it out. It is an awesome book full of details. Sometime I plan on doing a video or two over some of the aspects of it, but how it ties in, you know what I'm saying? And so without further ado, I wish each and every single one of you out there peace, blessings, and power.